Hi, I'm Rose, and this is the Sovereign Soul. Today, I want to talk about my realizations. Let's call it realizations. And these are mine of where I'm at in my life individually. Not that they're unique, because I think there are many people that have also had these realizations with or without other influences. In my case, I haven't come to these realizations through external influences or books or anything like that. I've just come to them on my own through questions I've asked through my journey and then come to these understandings. I have lived an incredibly normal human life in that I was born fast asleep and lived completely and entirely from my ego and my pain body. I definitely didn't have tools to be the best version of myself, but something in me has always been searching for the best me that I knew existed, whether that was emotionally, whether that was um, mentally or spiritually. I think the most important, I was always born with this feeling, this hope, this wanting that I could be better. So when I eventually moved from deeply in my ego to seeing the ego, to being aware of my own bullshit and my own patterns, I went through what is known as a spiritual awakening, or just an awakening. But for me, it was not a difficult experience. It was an interesting experience, but it was very liberating, because from going from that asleep to awake, I didn't feel any dark night of the soul. I definitely felt that my whole life had been a dark night of the soul. So it was really liberating to see that other side. But in that liberation, there have been more and more questions that I've had, and more expansion that I've wanted to be able to tap into in my own consciousness within this life. And one thing that I've come to the conclusion of is that I don't want to be born onto planet Earth again. I say this now, and this is where I am now in my understanding and my knowledge. And I don't believe that there are any mistakes, but if my awakening has shown me anything, which I think isn't so, it's so important and so valuable, is that we are all interconnected. There is oneness of a divinity that runs through all of us. And that awakening has brought me back to that awareness and understanding, and perhaps it was just a remembering. But in that remembering of that for myself, and that oneness and the interconnectedness of all beings and all life, it becomes glaringly obvious that the way this planet functions is not from a perspective of oneness and taking care of the whole organism. It's a very separated and divided, and purposefully kept that way. There is a suppression and an oppression that is put over the beings on this planet in such a huge way that people don't get the opportunity to be led to awakening. I was obviously born my way, with my searching, with my journey, and it was meant to take me where it's taken me. But I also know that I am, in that sense, unique. We are not gazillions, we're not billions of people who've chosen to have an awakened life where we were deeply in our ego and then go, oh, that's the game I'm playing with myself. This is my reconnection to my divinity, and then seeing it in all beings. No, most people are here playing a game that they don't even understand. And that lack of understanding is at grassroots level. It starts off with no understanding for themselves, no understanding for others, no understanding for the world around them, not the physical material world of society that has been created, and nor their spiritual world beyond the physical body that we are just living in for now, having this experience. The human experience is serious, it's heavy, it's dense, not because I am saying that I necessarily live a heavy, dense experience now that I've awakened, now that I've had my awakening experience, or having my awakening experience, because I believe that that's an ongoing thing. But I've had it, but others are not led to that. And the reason why we are not led to that is because of the leadership of Earth. The people who are leading human beings in the physical, in the flesh, are leading us to have serious experiences where we are perpetually in a state of suffering more than in a space of joy. So the overall marker of vibration of this planet is incredibly dense, because first of all, if the leadership is rotten, the rest is also going to be pretty rot. Or maybe we should rather put it in word terms of, if the leadership of the planet is low density, then so will the beings that it's been led have a low density, that are being led will have a low density as well. And if this is what is happening, which to me, just common sense can say, yes, it's definitely happening. We live on a planet with billions of us together, yet there is still so much war, there is still famine where people don't have homes, there is abuse left, right, and center, and leadership are actually they are the ones who are perpetuating it, which is just tragic. A lot of people are in a huge state of cognitive dissonance, don't want to believe that. They want to believe their governments do have their best interests at heart. And I say, okay, bully for you, then this is not information for you. But if you want to live in truth, if you actually want to look at things honestly, you've got to be transparent. You've got to put the cognitive dissonance aside and say, well, okay, I know what I want to believe, but is what I want to believe the reality of what we are all living? And I would have to say, no, most people live in denial. And because it's a system, we belong in a system where we're first living in our body, and then that awareness goes outside of our own existence to the people around us, and then to, bigger society as a whole as it grows. And we're all just like fish out of water, actually. We've all been taught to stay fish out of water. We've all been taught to stay fast asleep and unaware. If we were led, because I think in a sense human beings are incredibly innocent in that they are these social beings who want to fit in desperately, and they actually want to be given good guidance and good leadership, but ultimately they're not. So they're going to blindly be led, even if it's to their own slaughter or their own demise, because they want to believe in the good. And I think this is one of the reasons that Earth has been in this state for millennia of low vibration with low vibration leaders, because human beings have been so easy to mislead. As I say, I see it as like children who have been taken advantage of. It's a bullying tactic in order for others to get to play their own power game. Because if a person is truly connecting to the divinity, you're not going to want anyone in the world to suffer. Equality is going to be the most important thing if a person is genuinely living from their fullest, highest potential. And if all beings are living from their fullest, highest potential, they are going to want equality without doubt. They are going to want to pull the low density vibe up They're wanting to actually heal things. It's impossible for that not to happen if everybody's living from that full potential. So Earth doesn't live from that experience, and that's just a fact. That's just, we can't get around that. And we can want to only look at other forms of reality, but if we do just take a big step back and we don't attach to it, or identify with it, like, okay, that needs to be necessarily our reality, but at the same time it is, in a sense, because we're all interconnected, that the mess is the mess. It's fucking glaringly obvious. The mess is the mess. And I personally do not believe that the children of the planet, that the beings of the planet are responsible. I believe that there is an innate innocence which has been hijacked and abused, and literally just a bunch of sheep being led to the slaughter, so to speak. Not that it's an impossibility to get out of it, because it's an absolute possibility to get out of it. But people need to be first and foremost aware of the game and how it's been played. So when we move outside of this body, when we die, and we still have the consciousness that we need to keep coming back to the body in order to perfect things, if that's the story we told when we die, that, hey, you need to do better, you need to have a different life, because your consciousness is still like, hey, I didn't master anything on this planet. They're going to keep you coming back and coming back and coming back, and you yourself are keeping yourself coming back without wanting, able, or willing to look at the whole picture. And then, of course, spiritually, a lot of people give away their souls to a god. And I say a god because it's not necessarily the ultimate god, although I know that people believe that there is just one ultimate god, even though that god is very is really pro inequality. He's pro inequality. He's pro inequality. And therefore the level of suffering that humans have, it's not been taught to lift. And I don't think it's any different when we die. I think there is an energy, a false light matrix that keeps people coming back onto this earth and keeps perpetuating the situation. And that the only way to change that situation is to bring more awareness to it, that it's happening. And then hopefully people will go, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't want to be a part of that anymore. And slowly they can start having an awakening process where they go out of this matrix, where they go out of this false light construct, which is keeping us in this fast asleep state.